welcome everybody here tonight for our Committee of the Whole agenda for Monday, March 20th, 2017. Mary Beth, can you please call the roll?
Soretta.
Here.
Folds.
Here.
Fontaine.
Here.
Griffith.
Here.
Kiesling. Here. And Waring.
Here.
Do I have a motion to excuse Member Peters?
So moved. Second.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffith.
Yes.
Kiesling.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
And Soretta.
Yes.
6 yes to excuse Councilman Peters.
Okay, thank you. Up first, Street and Alley Committee Chairman Dominic Fontaine.
Okay, so we talked last week. Tim Fox shared with us the information about talking about reducing the speeds to 25 miles an hour. He kind of explained all the legalese with it. The first ordinance was talking about the distance in Main Street. We call it the North Canton Business District, which would be from Backville to Portage, which is like, I don't know, 0.7 of a mile or something. It's not very far. So what we'd be doing is looking at putting that on emergency, moving it to 25 miles an hour, which a portion of that is already 25 miles for a school zone. And the purpose of this really is to slow people down so that they can enjoy the opportunities of the businesses, just take it easy. It's just a short distance. And, you know, like on Mark Court and on Schneider, where you come from township into the city, it reduces the speeds from 35 to 25. So they have a sign that says reduce speed. So there'd be a period of time, a break-in period, so that people could get accustomed to that. It's not like a speed trap or anything like that. It would just be, it would be on an emergency. And again, we have the potential of a sign to slow people down and get them accustomed to that little section of town. And the city wishes to preserve the health and safety, the peace of the residents and guests, reducing the speed limit in that business district that's most traveled and congested to the city and serve the purpose. So that would be on an emergency. So I move that we, after discussion, put that on the agenda for next time. Any questions on that particular piece?
No comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would not be willing to pass out an emergency.
Right.
It needs to be vetted in the community. I'm not sure you're going to get as good of a response as you think you are. So I really think it's got to have its 3 readings. I would even be against a public hearing of some sort to actually advertise it, have people actually come up and speak just on that issue. It's pretty important, especially to those of us who travel that dang street 10 times a day sometimes. So I think it's something you want to, not rush into. It's a significant change for the community, and I would never pass on an emergency. So
Any more feedback? What do you think?
I would agree with her. We should get a full soundboard for everyone. We're talking about just Main Street right now, right?
Well, we have a couple others.
Right now we're just talking
Main Street.
Right, Main Street itself. We did it takes like 40 seconds more to go from the 35 to the 25 to make it from one town to the other, one side of town to the other. We went up and down a couple times. So it doesn't, and then if you're stopping at a light or something, but it just gives you a sense of that, this is our downtown area here. Let's slow this thing down. There's the YMCA, there are kids, there are churches, there's a lot of things in that area. And I think the businesses wanted it for, one of the things of the master plan that the businesses wanted things to slow down. So as they put their businesses in there, people see them more than just whisk right by them kind of thing.
I agree. I drove it today. It's exactly half a mile from Backville to Charlotte. So a half mile. It seems longer than that, but it really isn't. It's just a short little distance, unless my odometer cheated on me. So that would be something we can check out.
And I would suggest, even with the other one, that when we do put this in place, that we kind of merge it with putting these signs up at the same time. I mean, there's no reason to just do that and then put the signs up later. I would suggest if we're going to put our speed signs, which we have budgeted, let's do that at the exact same time, so it gives people that warning that this is now the speed limit, rather than just put it out there and it look like a speed trap that we're trying to get anyone kind of thing. So
no, we don't want to have a speed trap. But it's a half mile, and like I said, on Schneider and on Mark Court, when you come in, there'll be I think it's a yellow sign, but I mean, obviously it could be accustomed to our city. Even if it wasn't the speed sign, if you want to use the speed sign somewhere else in the city to slow things down, where we find trouble spots, at the very least we would put a sign, I would think. We could surely work that out where it would say speed reduces down, you know, like they do in those two spots. So, you know, so whatever we decide to do, that's just, you know, if we need to vet it more, that's fine. It's not like a trap, it's not anything that's gonna cause more harm to the city, it's to enhance the city and enhance the local businesses, which of course, that would be a nice thing to do too, is to see more businesses and more participation.
Just to add, I would agree with you, Marcia. I think potentially an extra public hearing would be helpful. I talked to a business owner on Main Street today in that area, and they were actually not in favor of it. And I was surprised. They had called me about the sign ordinance issue, but I asked, since I had them on the phone, and I've had a number of other people who said, Portage makes sense, Main Street, we're not real thrilled or convinced about too. So I think there'll be a lot of people who would add their voice.
And I think I had commented about that too, earlier when we started talking about this, so
And I
I
think
think any additional time.
the 40 seconds thing also cuts both, I mean, theoretically could cut both ways too, in that, are we really doing enough to slow people down to make a difference? And I've heard that was what the business owner said today, which was, you know, they're gonna be driving by at 30 miles an hour versus 42. It's not really gonna make that much of a difference. So I think it's worth a discussion. So,
Yeah, maybe some of the business owners will want to come in and talk. Okay, so section, are we good on that?
Yeah.
So I think we got the gist of it, we need a little more vetting on that. So B is the same concept, but it's for more the, it would be the east side of Main. Right there would be the Hoover entranceway where Orchard kind of goes in, you know, you go across the street into Orchard. That little section there, instead of a through highway, it would just be a street, therefore reducing that to 25 as you zip across the street. So that's that little section going into Hoover. And so that would be the same concept we were thinking there, just to slow that down.
No,
It
no,
actually-
No, we're talking Charlotte
That's
now.
where it starts.
yeah, it goes
Portage starts.
to Portage, Charlotte,
Yeah,
from Portage,
Across the
Charlotte running
street
up
to
to
Portage.
Main Street.
and then we're Charlotte, the next one will be Charlotte to Pittsburgh.
No, Portage Street, yeah, correct, Charlotte.
Yeah, so the one I'm talking about is the short section of
Right.
Portage to the Hoover District, which would be 25 miles an hour. And then the third piece of that, C, would be from Portage, you know, that point where you go to the turn where it goes to Charlotte. So from Charlotte to the Pittsburgh area, that run of, that stretch, that would be the 25 mile an hour stretch, which we need because, you know, now if you're at the light at Pittsburgh where Ernie's Bicycle Shop is, then you can start out a little slower. But you know by the time you get to the church there at Lindy Lane, right before you make the curve to the residential, everybody's out, you know, they're on fire. So that's where we could put maybe a speed light or a sign to slow them down, or at the very least, the permanent sign like they have on some of these other areas we talked about. So as you get down Portage, now you go into the Charlotte section. That's Charlotte, and then it goes into Portage when you go over there, and then across the street to Hoover. So those are the three sections. The three sections being Maine, Pittsburgh to Portage, and then Charlotte to Orchard, correct?
Yeah.
Did I hit them all right? And so that's the whole goal, is to get those to 25 miles an hour. It's just a matter of, do we do more vetting? Do we feel comfortable with this? So that's what we're talking about, and we can put them on the agenda for next week.
We'll hear what the public has to say, but I agree with 3 readings on all these. It's something I think is very favorable for the residential streets. One small change on ordinance with Charlotte, we'll call it the Charlotte one, I think it's got Portage. It should be northwest and northeast.
Now, when you're coming, because I went over there and tried to do this, you know, originally we were trying to bring this down to 30 miles an hour to get it down, although apparently we can't, we gotta get it to 25. When I started at the street there, the light, and I start going towards Lindy Lane, you know where I'm at now, on Portage.
You're at Ernie's Bicycle Shop,
Yeah.
heading towards Lindy Lane.
You're going so slow, I wanted to cut my wrist with a butter knife. I mean, it was so slow. I mean, so I think we need to look at that too. It was, you know, I can see us putting up a sign just before
A butter knife.
Lindy Lane, so they make that, get that slow down for that turn, because that's really where,
That's where.
but that, you know, that other area, that's a pretty good stretch to go 25 mile an hour. So, I mean, that hurts when you're doing that, and I think you're gonna get some feedback from that. And I don't know how we can, where we can make that go and stop. If, you know, that sign would be great, you know, maybe about, I don't know, 50 yards before you get to the Lindy Lane.
If you
So
see
now
the-
that's the
You
idea,
know,
of
the
slowing
church,
people
you
down.
got the Lutheran church down on the right.
Right.
So you see the parking lot, then you see the church. So yeah, if you put it on the right, that would slow you down. Because here's the thing, the only issue really is if you're coming down Portage and you have a green light, now you're picking up some good speed.
Yeah.
But if you stop at the light there, then you have a little, unless you're lead foot, you know, like you would be. So
Yeah.
you'd be hitting.
Where would the 25-mile-an-hour sign start? is
I would
what I'm
say you put your stop sign or your your speed sign about halfway where the parking lot is on the right. And then as soon as it hits that curve, right past Lindy Lane, it's 25 miles an hour. That's what I think it should be. And then 25 miles an hour.
The curve is
going-
Worsler right there.
Right,
Yeah.
right before you get to.
Well, there's nothing to say we can't adjust this a little bit, as far as I know. Our engineer wants to weigh in. Excuse me?
So we just want to make sure that wherever it's placed, that it aligns with
Right.
what we have in
Right
ordinance.
now.
Okay, let's do it then.
I think the big thing, it's an educational process. We're not here to write a bunch of tickets on people. They've been driving these roads their whole life, but it's safety involved, especially, I feel, on Portage and Charlotte. Main Street, that's going to be interesting to talk to the business owners and the thoroughfare traffic who's using it. But there's good discussion points either way. But I'm happy that we're at least presenting something to the public we can all look at together.
Well, the Charlotte one, it's important to remember, excuse me, from history that, you know, the school was there for a long time, so
Right.
that would have been a slower zone for many, many years as well. But yeah, I think it's worth having a long discussion about it.
Which brings up another, maybe we can do something about getting rid of those no turn on reds there at Hillcrest and Charlotte. Those were there specifically for the school back in the day. Now you sit there, nobody goes by, and you can't turn right on red. You know what I'm talking about? Hillcrest and Charlotte right there. So that's another thing I would suggest that we look at doing. Those are not needed in any way.
So,
And the green arrow in Pittsburgh.
so one, this is just kind of like another side note.
Stop sign.
What I was going to say is, so on the business side, which is Main Street, which will affect more of the businesses. So since the letter went out, there were several calls I had, which is not related to this, but in a way it is because, you know, we want to also make sure we're sensitive to businesses that pay taxes in the city. And also, since businesses are the foundation of the country, if not little cities, because Hoovers is really not what it used to be, we want to really, I think, work as a group, the city, the chamber, and the North Canton group, whatever that group is, that we can work together and come up with some great ideas, which we should talk about the next meeting of the whole, which we'll maybe put that on the agenda and talk about. Some ideas on what we can do.
Good, thank you. We'll move those forward. Next up, Finance and Property Committee. Chairman Griffin.
We have a relatively regular ordinance where we dispose of the things that we don't need anymore, including Mark's bike that he lost in the mid-70s as a child, which has been sold several times, I think.
Still out there.
Yes. Well, you were the highest bidder, Mark, so, you know. Mike, do you want to comment about this one?
Now you covered it, we do an auction from time to time to get rid of all of our extra stuff, and also the police department for the unclaimed funds, and they go through a court system on that, so we get rid of all that. So we'd like to do it again. We've got another accumulation of property, so we'd like an ordinance so we can get to that.
Dispose of those. Any questions or issues there? We'll put it on the agenda. And the next item is a forest grant, and I think the administration and Doug, you've been working on this one as well.
Yes, I did some follow-up on this. There was some confusion whether it was a grant or a match, a one-on-one match, and I did call Dan Maglin from the City of Canton. City of Canton more or less filled out a lot of this grant application, and they decided to collaborate with City of Massillon, Louisville, and North Canton for additional trees, which actually helped them out with criteria also. So it's all about the Muskegon watershed, the Ohio River Basin, and we generate the windfall of that by not paying for any trees. This will be a complete grant that the City of Canton's picking up our share. So I want to give them a thank you for their leadership. Anytime you get trees, especially trees of 2-inch, 2.5-inch caliber, to plant in your city, that's a good thing. Now, as far as what they're looking at, they had a priority of the creek and river and parkland wetland basins, their gateways, and then also their low and moderate neighborhoods. I think we have a little bit more flexibility where we want to put our trees, but that's yet to be discussed with the grant coordinator. But the good news is we have 3 or 4 years to utilize this grant. I'm not quite sure yet if we have to pay for them first and get reimbursed. Usually that's the way it works. The local governments take care of that end, and then we get reimbursed from the state.
How many trees do you think that would equate to for North Canton?
Well, they're looking at $200 trees, 2 1/4 trees. They're looking at 13 trees a year, so about 72 trees.
That's
We
awesome.
use $200 as a reference point. We might have some flexibility if we put the trees in versus hiring a nursery. Depends on what we want to do there, but those are things I'll look into more. The nice thing too, when you look at this grant, is they're going to do a tree canopy analyzation of just Canton, and I think talking to Dan Medlin, we can get some of that insight into our city.
Right.
They're developing software. Lola Lewis is an administrator. I know her quite well with from the tree department there in ODNR, or urban forestry, I should say. And that's going to just be a win for us to put something on the map to see where we are with graphics and just a great inventory, which has never been done before. So with that said, I think we should move forward with it. But here again, I want to be clear, to my knowledge, checking into this, we don't pay anything. Canton's picking up our portion of this, so it'll be $10,000 worth of trees that we can apply to our neighborhoods and parks.
That's nice.
Is there any stipulation that we become a tree city or something like that?
No, there's not. Some of the, I think Louisville is a tree city, and Canton is also, but we benefit just, here, it's a good thing, you know, collaboration with other government entities. So, you know, we benefit as well as the other local communities with Canton's leadership on it, Dan Medlin.
Okay.
Okay?
That one needs an emergency. We have a deadline for the.
I would like to pass on emergency.
Okay. Other questions or issues?
No, it's a great
We'll
news.
add that to your agenda, and thanks for the great work. That's
Okay.
awesome work by everybody. And third is the submission of the renewal of the tax levy. Again, no additional pieces that are there. We were given some renewal levy information. You provide, Laura, did you do that? You want to talk about this a little bit?
Sure, I put this on everybody's desk, a little chart. Basically, the fire chief and I got together a couple weeks ago and kind of looked at some numbers during the life of this most recent levy. You can see from the chart that although expenditures have held fairly constant over the past several years, the number of runs, EMS runs that they've gone on have actually gone up quite a bit. So we're being very efficient with those levy dollars and providing a pretty low cost per run compared to the history. As well, we have some other facts up there. It's a renewal, not an increase in taxes. And I think the biggie is that this particular levy is over 1/3 of the revenue for that fund. So it's very important to the EMS service that we provide.
And I think philosophically, it's important to note that one of the things that we've done in North Canton is to have several levies rather than increasing the overall income tax. And the benefit to that is that taxes are lower, but also that the residents know that their dollars that they spend are going towards new services versus anything else that exists. And I think that there's, you note that here, which is important. So I think that's one of the benefits that we provide assurance to taxpayers that the dollars that they put in for taxes for EMS actually go towards EMS, whereas with income tax, there's no guarantee there. So that's a nice benefit that we have here too. So good work on this. And again, 2013, 2,100 runs, 2016, 2,800 runs. So it's a pretty significant increase, and yet $625 a run, and last year $541 per run. So that's a nice expenditure. Fewer people, and that's been a nice benefit.
I got a question. So like, with all these runs, I wasn't in it, thank God, but the thing that I want to know is, if you live in the city, is it the same price as anybody else, right? Do we do just strictly in the city, or do we go outside the city?
It's the same price. However, city residents only pay what their insurance will cover. So if you, let's say the run is $500, your insurance covers $300, the other $200 the city writes
Absorbs.
off because we're getting tax dollars.
So
if you're a non-resident, then you'd be on the hook for that
So
extra
that's a
$200.
good point to know, that if you're a resident, there is a benefit there for paying income tax living inside the city. So I think that's the big thing. We always want to know, what are the benefits for living here? besides coming here and seeing the smiley faces.
Well, and I think they're extremely responsive, their response times are fantastic. We've invested heavily in technology associated with them, and it's paid off. I think, you know, they're able to, I probably shouldn't say this because I'm not an expert, Marcia, you would know much better, but they're able to transmit information from inside, so that when you walk into the ER, people know about your EKG and your...
They're already talking to him, telling him what to do. They see that EKG and
pushing certain drugs, right?
Wow.
Exactly. So it is an enormous service that people outside don't have. Other comments or thoughts?
No.
All right, very good.
Move that
We'll put
forward.
that on and now. Again, this is simply to certify to the author so that we can continue to move forward
Okay,
with that process. That's all I have.
thank you. I believe some of us can't make the meeting next week. Is that correct? I don't think we even have enough for a quorum before
Spring break next week.
spring break, vacation, so forth. So what we want to do is get a roll call vote here. Can I have a motion not to meet next Monday, March 27th?
Motion.
Second.
Mary Beth?
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Kiesling,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes,
6 yes to not meet next Monday.
that's correct. Then can I have a motion and second to have a special council meeting the first Monday of April? That'll be April 3rd at 7 p.m.
So moved. Second.
Kiesling,
Yes.
Peters, Waring,
Yes.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes,
Fontaine,
Yes.
and Griffith.
Yes.
6 yes to have a special council meeting April 3rd. at
and then we'll
7
have a motion and second to have a regular council committee of the whole meeting. Directly after that council meeting.
It'll be considered special because of the time. Normally
The time
we meet at
change.
7, we're just gonna meet after that, so you have to call it a special. It'll be a little after 7.
Okay, so the motion is to have a special committee meeting, because we're changing the time of it right after the special council meeting for April 3rd.
Motion.
Second.
Waring,
Yes.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes,
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
and Kiesling.
Yes.
6 yes to have a special council, or committee meeting April 3rd following the special council meeting.
okay.
Doug, are we going to hear at the special council meeting, are we going to hear comments relative to the speed limits?
I would make a motion that we waive the special council meeting rules to have public speaks.
And
I
we'll
think
do
it's
that
that
at
point.
that time?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so there will
We'll
be
do a
public speaks
motion.
on that issue.
And
Okay,
if there's
that's
4
important.
affirmative votes, we'll change the
Point.
rules.
Good point.
Okay? Nice. Anything else? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Kiesling,
Yes.
and Waring.
Yes.
6 yes to adjourn.
Thank you.